Hi, Jessica. Thank you for taking your time to come back and meeting with me.
hmm
I know last time we had a lot to discuss about some of the things that you're going through. You mentioned that you were experiencing a little bit of sadness and isolating yourself and just not going to classes, just not being motivated to attend those classes. But I really am glad to see you here again to come meet with me so that way you're not feeling like that anymore. So one of the things that I wanted to do today in this session is cognitive reframing. What this means is that it's basically an approach that modifies the perception of how you see any difficult situations that are currently happening in your life right now. So, like right now, you're experiencing these symptoms of depression, and because of all the things that are going on in your life right now. So, right now, it kind of seems like your life is turned upside down. And so, with reframing, we kind of want to change that perception. So that way, you don't have those symptoms of depression anymore. This helps by providing alternative ways to view the situation. So, as opposed to like, yes, I understand that your parents' separation is very difficult right now, but instead of looking at it that way, we can find alternative ways to see it. Obviously it's not a positive thing, but we can find different ways to perceive that situation. Does that sound like something you would be willing to work on?
Yeah.
Okay. So I know we talked a lot about difficult situations, and with that, we often tend to automatically select the negative features when things like that happen with us. And then as time passes on, we usually become fixated on it. So we focus so much on the negative that it eventually disrupts our life, much like
hmm
how you're not wanting to go to class. That's how you see that. And it's normal. People go through hardships, and when you become fixated, that's essentially what happens. It just disrupts your life, and sometimes people don't want that to happen because it interferes with your future. And so that's why I'm really glad that you're here today. Um, this kind of these kinds of things eventually leads to uncomfortable emotions that we don't want to deal with, and essentially that's why people become isolated and they just don't want anything to do with it. But with reframing, we'd be able to change those emotions around. Um, so for this procedure, I'll help you identify what you're usually aware of when you become isolated in your room or you just want to be alone and you don't want to do anything. I'll help you become aware of the feelings that you're currently feeling at the moment when those things happen. And then we can work on increasing your awareness of other aspects rather than just focusing on the isolation or just being sad. We can focus on other aspects of that you usually wouldn't notice. So this way you'll be able to observe a lot of feelings and responses which will change the way you think. So this will help you become aware of the feelings that you're not usually aware of and feelings that you usually wouldn't pay attention to. So to begin, we're going to start off with imagery. So I want you to think about the situation when you're in your room alone. And I just want you to think about the things that you're aware of at the time. So if you're just the feelings that you notice, what comes to your mind, what kind of things do you think about?
Um, I feel sad. I feel like nothing's going right, and that's kind of the thought that I have is
Mm-hmm.
nothing is going right, right now. So why go outside? Like why give it effort if it's like nothing's gonna go well?
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like right now you are, or when you're at that moment, it feels like because things are going wrong, you don't feel the need to do anything else. Is there
hmm
any other feelings that you're aware of, or either even just what are you doing at the moment when you're alone? Anything?
Sometimes I also feel like angry, like kind of like at the world, like why are so many bad things happening? I
Mm-hmm.
just wanna like I want to leave the room, but I just can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah, and I can see why you are feeling angry. You have a lot going on. You're in the graduate program. Your parents are going through a tough time right now, and there's so many changes going on. So I can see why those feelings are occurring. So you mentioned feelings of anger. Just feelings of being in a dark place. Is there anything else that when you put yourself in that situation that you want to talk about?
Um, I just I feel like I don't want to like talk to anybody. Things things in my room are a lot better than what's going on outside, so I don't have to deal with. like my parents getting divorced or
Mm-hmm.
all the schoolwork that now I'm behind on because I've been missing class. And I'm like, I just, if I go outside, then it's all, I have to deal with it. And it's easier in my room.
Mm-hmm. So, as you're thinking of the situation of when you're isolated in your room alone, the list of things that you're aware of are sounds like negative energies, just wanting to be alone, just feelings of anger. It doesn't necessarily sound like any positive aspects are coming. Is that correct? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like, because, like, I'm here, I realize what it's doing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm so far behind in class and I'm not dealing with, like, everything.
Mm-hmm. So next, how did it? Before we get to the next session, how did it make you feel just thinking about that? Just thinking about putting yourself in that position where you're alone in your room.
I mean, it kind of, like, brought me back to the place where, like, I'm just extremely sad and I, like, feel depressed. Like, I don't want to do anything. I just, like, kind of want to, like, disappear. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like, life is just so difficult right now. It's just really, like, frustrating.
Yeah. So it
So,
sounds like a lot of not so good feelings.
yeah.
That just kind of affects everything else in life. So right now, I want you to reenact the situation, and so I know you made aware of all the features that you are familiar with when you're in that situation, but instead of paying attention to those, I want you to pay attention to selected features you normally wouldn't pay attention to. So I can give you an example. Like if a client was, if I was afraid of water, or going swimming, I normally would just pay attention to my fear of swimming. In this case, I would pay attention to things like how deep is the water? Can I touch the ground? Um, more details like that. So I want you to put yourself in that situation of being in the room again. And then when you're all alone, tell me what other features do you notice?
Um,
It could be things outside features like thinking about your family, just anything. It doesn't have to be just necessarily what you feel in your room.
yeah. So, I think, what's going on with my parents. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be supportive, but I feel like because I'm in my room, I can't. So there's, like, a whole life going on, like school's going on, life is going on without me. So it's like I'm missing out on it.
Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of. I mean, I don't pay attention to it in that moment, but because I'm so sad, I'm just thinking about, like, my parents are getting divorced and, like, that's the only life I've known.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, now thinking about it, like, life is going on and I'm missing it.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like aside from just being in your room alone, you're kind of missing out on all the other events that are happening right now. I know your parents are going through a divorce, and um, you said that you wanted to be supportive of that, but it's hard with the emotions that are kind of getting in the way because essentially you're just isolating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is there any other features that you wanted to bring up as you're thinking of the situation right now?
Um, Not really. I think just that like everything's going on without me, and like I'm missing everything, and, like, that's why I thought I should come here because
Mm-hmm.
I realized, like mostly what woke me up was, like, school. Like, I'm not doing well in school,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always done well, like I told you last time. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about now is just, like, everything is going on. Like, I haven't been able to help my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know they're my parents. Like, I'm not supposed to parent them, but, like, I should be supportive of both of them equally because I love them both equally. But I just haven't been able to do that.
Mm-hmm. So now I know that you have made aware of all the features that you normally wouldn't pay attention to. So at first we started with I feel sad, I feel angry. Then we moved towards to well now I'm missing out on all the events. I want to be supportive of my parents, and now I want to shift the focus on the intentional focus on the extra other features that target the situation, the ones that we mostly overlook. So these things like with the water scenario, the water is clear. That could be something that I can pay attention to instead of focusing on, oh, I'm scared of the water. Like my focus could be like, oh, well, at least I can see my feet.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of shifts the focus of my fear and focuses back on like, well, at least I can see my feet. So in your situation, um, in this case, in the step, like I'm able to give you examples, and then you can create your own examples if you have any. So in this case of your parents' divorce, going to school, I feel like one of the focuses that you can look at is maybe that your family is still your family. I know that separation is not easy, especially because it causes like a disruption among the family members, but at the end of the day, they're still your family and they still love you. Is there any other features like that that you can see from the scenario?
Um,
Anything about school? Anything about.
I mean, just the fact that I'm even in like graduate school, like, is a is a big like thing for me.
Hmm.
So I like looking at that, like that's a really big accomplishment. And like you said, my family is still my family, and my parents still love me. They just don't love each other anymore.
Yeah.
So I mean, they still love me, and I think that's probably what I should be focusing on instead of caring about if they love each other,
Hmm.
because it doesn't change how they feel about me and how supportive they are of me.
Hmm.
But like they're going through their own thing right now, and like our favorite holiday is coming up. It's Christmas. Like we always do big things for Christmas. So I mean, I'm sure we're still gonna do something, and that could be like now I can have two Christmases.
Yeah. So you mentioned school. That is a huge accomplishment. Finishing high school alone is an accomplishment, but you've made it as far as graduate school. And the fact that you're sitting here in the class and your professors are even taking note of the changes that are being made right now. I think that's something that is often overlooked, and we think that just because it's normal routine for us, it's we just let it go. But I think that's a huge thing to be proud of. And you mentioned your family. I mentioned that as well. They're at the end of the day, they're still there for you. You're going to be there for them, and the fact that you can acknowledge that and you're aware of how much support they have been for you and how much they love you. I think that's again something that's often overlooked, but we don't really necessarily think about it. We just at the moment we just think like, oh my gosh, my world is falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
But then we still have this other aspect of it. So that's kind of what reframing does. We kind of yes, life is hard, but then there's this other part that we can look at instead of just focusing on the negativity. um, is there any other suggestions or things that you have often overlooked that when you find yourself in this place of sadness or alone that you can look at instead?
Um, right now, like whenever I'm inside my room, like I don't even think about like this is like my favorite season. Like winter's my favorite
Mm-hmm.
season. And like I always like go to the snow or I do something cool like in the winter because it's my favorite. And I haven't even done that like at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like I should be like thinking about this is my favorite season. I should do something. I should get out of the house and like there's so many opportunities for me to enjoy my favorite season. Like I have to wait another year for it, so
Yeah.
I shouldn't be sitting in my room.
Mm-hmm. So it does sound like you are aware of the how this being alone and being having the depressive symptoms have kind of taken you back from all the things that you normally would do. But with this approach, I'm glad that you're able to shift your focus on the positive things. And so that's kind of what this technique does. And I want to continue this in the next sessions. So every time you come back, if you're willing to come back, we can work on this again. A lot of it would be repetitive. A lot of the symptoms, you're still going to be sad. It's not going to happen overnight, and the symptoms will or will not be there. But as time progresses and we continue to repeat this procedure, I want you to take note of the changes that you're feeling. When you find yourself, if you ever find yourself feeling sad alone again, then I want you to see or take note if your mind changes the focus into looking at more of the positive aspects of it and just how your perception changes. So over the next 6 weeks, we'll be working on this. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, we'll be able to recap and see where you have progressed. But I want to thank you for taking your time to come in today and be able to work on this. So thank you. And for right now, that's all. Just remember to continue to practice this. And then when we come back, we'll practice this again. You can practice this on your own. And then every week, we'll be able to check in on you. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, sounds
Okay.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you.